Hey everyone, this is Wyatt Jackson here. You're listening to Adventures into Odyssey. Hey everyone, this is Wyatt Jackson here. This week I'm going to be discussing episode 594, A Time for Action, Part 1. And this week I have a guest, the first guest I've ever had on this podcast. He's a friend of mine, Devon Marshall.
What's up?
Yeah. And we're both going to be discussing this and see how this turns out, I guess. So Devon, how are you feeling about this episode?
It's one of the best episodes, I'd say, in the whole Leonard and Eugene series.
Yeah, really? I personally would say the top floor, but...
One of the best. The top floor is the best.
Okay. We don't talk about Prisoners of Fear, though. Okay. So as we said, this is the 6th episode of the Leonard Meltsner Saga. We had the random last in a long line way at the beginning of Adventures in Odyssey. Then we had Prisoners of Fear, parts 1, 2, and 3. Then we had Dead Ends, and now we got this one. So, I'm looking forward to discussing this episode. So this episode is episode 594, and it was written by Nathan Hubler. Good on you, Nathan Hubler. It originally aired on May 13th, 2006. And I think this comes into big play because they talk a lot about fax machines during this episode. And, I was like, wait a minute. Fax? What? Okay, 2006. We're still in the fax machine era, I guess. Now I'm going to be discussing the cast of this episode. So let's see here. We got Grady McKay, played by Jordan Orr. The bratty kid, the whiny, high-pitched kid I don't like. We got John Whitaker, played by the best Paul Herlinger, who is the greatest wit of all time. And then we got Eugene Meltsner, played by Will Ryan. Christy McKay, or as I refer to her in my notes, Mum, as Julianne Boescher. Oh, and this is interesting. We got Diane, played by Diane Ingoldia. So, same name, voice actor. I wonder if that, coincidence. And then we got Maddie Burnett, paid by Pat Bloor. And this is interesting because we don't got Mr. Burnett, we just got the Mrs. Burnett. And
I don't think he's in this episode.
No, he's not. And we got mentioned in this episode. We got Connie mentioned by Mr. Whitaker. We got Leonard mentioned by Eugene. We got Thelma mentioned by Eugene. We got Frank Burnett, or Mr. Burnett, mentioned by Eugene. We got Samantha, Grady's younger annoying sister, mentioned by Mrs. McKay. We got Katrina Meltsner, mentioned by Mrs. Burnett. And we got Dalton Kern, everyone's favorite ruthless archaeologist, mentioned by John Whitaker. So, Yeah. I also thought this was interesting because Samantha, you can totally tell if they had the voice actor, they would have put her in. They just did not have the voice actor, so they just worked around it,
It's true.
You could totally tell this is probably scripted for Samantha, and then they're like, oh, dang, we can't get the voice actor.
Which is why she was sleeping.
Right around it or something. So that's a cast. It's fairly small for an episode. Only 6 people really heard in the episode. So you want to roll the promo, Devon?
On the next Adventures in Odyssey, new twists emerge in Eugene's search for his father. Though he never doubts that prayer matters, Eugene is determined to act on any lead. A forgotten relative, a spy agency in Chicago, and a tragic accident are all part of the deepening plot. On the next Adventures in Odyssey.
Wait a minute. Okay. What was that? We just, what? Was that circus music? What? What? A spy agency? I love how it sounds like just like a circus backing track they had in archives, and they're like, hey, let's use the, what?
Better than the music for Big Trouble Under the Big Top.
Yes. Okay, we've had some weird promos, but this, I don't know. Last week's promo was pretty weird, but this week's promo is definitely caps out for weirdness.
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't really give out much information about the episode, which I kind of respect, but at the same time, do a better job, Odyssey, you know? Like,
Yeah.
seriously, I mean, some of the Novacom promos are just horrible to listen to. Like, they're so cringe.
And like Novacom was so good, but the promos though.
Yeah. I wonder, like, if there's like some summer intern who's like in charge of promos, you know? They're like, John Campbell's like, all right, so you just like come up with a music track and, you know, make a promo. And Nathan Hulu's like, yeah, just like talk about the episode, but don't give too much away. They're like, okay. And they come up with this circus music.
It's just all ad lib right there.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're done with the promo. That was a weird promo. So do you want to get into the episode?
So in the first scene, Grady's talking with Mr. Whitaker about the adoptive family, which is collecting things for families in the community.
Yeah. But it's also important to note that it's just like a cold intro. Like it just starts out like that.
Mm-hmm. So Mr. Whitaker mentions Matthew 25, which is about a lot of different parables. So that's just a whole lot of parables.
Oh, yeah, because I'm like, when I was prepping for this, I was like, oh, Bible verse, okay, I don't need to put this down because it's going to come up in the end. But it didn't, and then I just forgot about it, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so all the parables have the same theme of giving. That's the bottom line, which is what they're trying to do in the adoptive family thing.
Well, we're on the topic of missions, like adoptive family and hand up. I really wish they'd mentioned Around the World Missions, the best named missions organization ever. You know, Around the World Missions. It's like the most generic mission organization name ever. Okay, come on, we need Around the World Missions.
So yeah. It also talks about the dinner to benefit the homeless.
Oh, yeah, and this is important because in Into the Light, that's where, spoiler alert, Eugene meets his father. We all knew he was alive. Because if you didn't record this with me, but last episode we had a Leonard Meltsner at the homeless shelter. Mm-hmm. And we later learn he's homeless because, well, we later learn the mysterious man who's really just Leonard, you know. He's homeless.
Not a spoiler at all there, you know.
No, not a spoiler at all. So Grady's talked to Wyatt about the Adopt a Fam program, and like it gives all the needy families stuff, and there's the dinner to benefit the homeless, and Hand Up is in charge of sorting like all the goods to deliver, which we later find out they do a terrible job. They do Eugene does a horrible job.
It's true. What are they paying him for?
I know, right? Okay, we'll get into that, though. We'll get into that later. Then Eugene comes in and just, like, barges in, and he's like, well, sorry for interrupting, but now that I have, I'm just going to take you away from your conversation. And Whit's like, okay, whatever.
Yep. So after he does that, Eugene takes Wyatt back into the kitchen to go chat about a book that Eugene found while he was searching through effects of stuff for Adopt a Family. And the book was...
So this is... I wanted to touch on this. So in Prisoners of Fear, they called Eugene, like, he's like, me and Katrina have been to Zaire. But in reality, it was only called Zaire from 1961 to 1997. Mm-hmm. This was in 2000. It's in like the 2000s. It's called the Congo.
Yeah. And
so Eugene fixes his mistake from Prisoners of Fear. He's like, oh, it used to be called Zaire, but it's now the Congo. It's like the writers were listening to it once it was released, and they're like, oh, dang.
Yeah.
We called it Zaire. Let's have Eugene fix that next up, you know. So I like how they try to fix their mistakes. And
while Eugene was like looking through the book and stuff and showing Wyatt, they were both wondering why his parents had like an elementary guide to, like, because it was a beginner's guide. So
yeah.
Eugene was like, what the heck? And because like his parents had been to Zaire so many times, and then Eugene found a ticket.
Yeah, he picked the book up and like this train ticket stub fell out. And it was to Kindu, which is a place kind of near where the Ashantis are, I guess. And, there's also a map in the back of the book, and there's a location that's circled, and Wit's like, and Eugene's like, look at the map, and Wit's like, okay. And Eugene's like, don't you see the circle? Wit's like, yeah. He's like, isn't it obvious? Wit's like, no. Eugene's like, that circle's where my parents were held hostage. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So true.
I just love how Wit's like, what are you talking about, Eugene? Yeah.
Eugene, speak English.
Yeah, I know.
The classic line.
And then we get the Chris intro. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Because that comes in like halfway through that scene. And then
I have it listed as 2 separate scenes in my notes.
Yeah. It's like intro part 1, intro part 2.
Yeah, basically. Or it could be scene 1, part 1, scene 1, part 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, we get the Chris intro, then we go back, and it's in scene 2. And Wit is like pondering the meaning of life and what it all means. He's like, well, okay, so what does this mean?
The question everyone's asking.
I know. Everyone who's been listening to Odyssey lately, or, when this is coming out. So, Wit's like, well, maybe this person travels to Africa to try and rescue my missing parents.
What?
And, yeah, I know. Okay. The logistics of that happening is actually like nuts, but whatever. I guess Eugene's like going crazy, so we can excuse him. So, Wit's like, yeah, but maybe this person was involved in their kidnapping, or he could have been an archaeologist. And then there's like this date on the tickets, and it kind of is the date. The date is like a few weeks after his parents were kidnapped, and so the kidnapping has already happened. And
Eugene just assumes that it's somebody coming to help them too.
I know. It's a crazy assumption he made. He's like, this guy or this person must have just been like, yeah. I know. It's like really crazy. And he also says this all happened when he was 7 years old, which is nuts.
Another thing about young Eugene series.
Oh, okay. There's some things about young Eugene that is just nuts. Like, Eugene, when he was a baby, was literally doing calculus.
I know.
In his crib with his chalkboard.
Uh-huh.
Like, what?
Yeah, no, they should get the kid who played Goggles, like in
the Champ at the Camp, yeah.
And then they do like a young Eugene series, though. That'd be fun.
I know. I had the same thought. I'm like, okay, they're doing Young Wit. I want to see young Eugene.
I think it'd be more entertaining than Young Wit, but I don't know.
Young Connie.
No. Nobody needs that.
No one needs that. Mom! Connie, shut up! I don't know. Okay. We don't want young Connie. So Eugene's like, well, I guess I'm going to talk to the Burnett's and see, like, because this book was in the box he found in the Burnett's attic the last time. And so he decides smartly to, like, see if the Burnett's know anything about the owner of the book. And then he's like, I have okay. And then there's this, like, dialogue, which is just so funny, and I have it written out. So do you have it, or...
I have it somewhere here. It's the hunch one, right?
Yeah. Never mind.
I got it.
Okay, wait. Do you want to like read it out, sir? Do you want to be Wit or do you want to be Eugene?
I'll be Wit.
Okay. All right, Mr. Whitaker. I have what some might call a hunch.
What is it?
It's a colloquial term. It means an intuitive feeling or premonition.
I meant, what is your hunch?
It's funny. It's funny to get Eugene's like, he's like, only thinking about the one thing, you know? Mm-hmm. So anyway, Eugene was thinking that, what if his father created this map? Like if he contacted someone from like the outside world to help him with his escape, which is a nuts theory. Like how, why, you know?
I know.
Because his father's in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. In a jungle in the Congo, So for Eugene to be thinking that his father somehow magically created this map in this book, like, what? Yeah, it's like nuts, isn't it? So, yeah. But anyway, Wyatt warns him it's like a long shot. But Eugene's like, well, I have to find out who the ticket belongs to. So, yeah.
It's his mission in life.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I have like his, because I didn't know, I couldn't remember when I was prepping, I couldn't remember the mom's name, so I just wrote Mom.
Yeah,
so
no.
all my notes, it's like gonna
That's
be
all.
Mom.
I think that's all I wrote too.
Yeah. Her name's Christy or something, but.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, so Grady's in the car.
And he's bored out of his mind, apparently.
Oh, he's being a classic
whiny kid.
Sister.
She's sleeping. Convenient plot device because they don't have the actress who plays her.
Yeah. So then Grady mentions that as they're driving by, he sees his good old friend.
Oh, yeah. The homeless dude.
A random stranger that no one knows who it could possibly be.
Yeah.
At the side of the road, just on his famous park bench. And Grady's like, look, Mom, I know that guy. She's like,
what?
What the heck? You're not allowed to talk to strangers.
Oh, yeah. And then he like snuck away from it, like the person, like, what's her name? Mrs. I forget.
Oh, I don't remember his teacher.
No, it wasn't. It was like I picture it like an old woman who's like watching him, but not really watching him.
Yeah, like a babysitter or something like that.
But like she's old, like so she's like knitting on the park bench, and he's like, I'm just gonna take a walk. She's like, okay, just go on. I got my crocheting to do. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so he's just like been talking to this random stranger, and his mom's like, Grady, what have I told you about talking to strangers? Which, has he done this before, or is it just like a warning?
He just walks up to everybody and is just like, hello, I'm great.
Yeah, I guess so. And then Grady, he's like a master at this. He diverts his mom from being angry at him to like just like a regular conversation. He's like, because his mom's like angry. He's like, so what's he doing out there? His mom's like, well, I guess he's homeless. And then Grady's like, you mean he has to live in the park?
That's what homeless means, son.
It's like also, it's just a master diversion from his mom's like, you know.
Yeah, so
Grady,
true.
like, I'm not going to let you do that again to like, oh, I didn't know. You know?
Grady's like, I got to change the subject, guys.
I know.
She's getting too close.
Yeah. Then Grady asks his mom if they can adopt him for the adoptive family program. And his mom's like, no.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's like,
End of scene, just no.
Yeah. No, but yeah. Oh, yeah, that would be great. But the mom like agrees to put together a few things to give for adoptive families that they can put together. Which, first of all, why? I mean, it's set up in earlier episodes that they are like poor.
I know.
Extremely poor.
Well, yeah, that's later, I think.
Like he's literally sleeping on the sofa because he doesn't have a bed in earlier episodes.
Yeah,
which is also, it's talked about Grady's bed. So
yeah, that was
to be another goof.
That was in the one with Eugene fixing everything in their house, automating all their appliances.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he automates their fridge. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway.
Oh yeah.
She's like, well, I guess we can go.
Yeah, and then
you go.
Grady asks his mom if he could sleep in the bathtub. Yes, such a.
And his mom's like, no.
Such a clever line right there.
It's like, Grady. It's like, are you really this dumb kid?
How old is Grady supposed to be? Like,
it's kind of funny.
Oh no, he said he's 9. He's practically adult now.
He's 9. Yeah.
Yeah,
which is understandable.
He's like, I'm 9. I'm all grown up.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Which I know lots of young, annoying 9-year-olds, so it's not too hard to imagine him.
Yeah.
So anyway, we go then to the next scene in Whit's End. And Eugene's on the phone, and Whit comes in, and apparently Eugene's been talking with the Burnett's, and they couldn't help Eugene. They didn't know who the ticket in the book belonged to. But then Whit's like, well, I have some good news for you, because he's like, I have a friend in the state office in Chicago. She might have the ticket list from 20 years ago in the Congo. Okay, can we talk about the coincidence of this right now?
How would he know that she would have that?
Because, it is... Well, no, not only that. How does he have all these connections? Whit just, it's later in this episode, he knows a guy in a newspaper in the Congo.
I know, yeah.
I
have that written down here, too.
He just knows everyone in the world. He just knows everyone in the world.
Yeah.
Because, he just knows everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, also, this is interesting because we get some Odyssey geography.
Oh.
And they decide to go to Chicago this afternoon. Mm-hmm. And so I looked on Google Maps, and there's, just a sec.
Yeah, they also went to Chicago and waylaid in the Windy City in the Blackbird Saga too.
Yeah, but they flew there.
Yeah.
No, they flew to Chicago. We get the assumption that they just drive to Chicago. Mm-hmm. And so I was looking at Google Maps, and I'm like, okay, Odyssey has to be either in Ohio, Indiana, or Illinois. And I looked, and the driving time from Chicago to Indianapolis was 3 hours, basically.
Oh, that's a long drive.
Yeah, but it could be done in a day, theoretically. Yeah.
If they left in the morning and...
No, but they leave in the afternoon. That's also a crazy thing.
Oh, what?
Because they're he's like, well, we could leave this afternoon, or we could leave tomorrow. And Eugene's like, oh, this afternoon. So, yeah. Okay. So here, this doesn't make sense because they leave in the afternoon, drive for say 2 to 3 hours. Mm-hmm. They get there around, I don't know, 5 o'clock. They get there around 3 to 4 o'clock. Mm-hmm. They presumably spend half an hour to an hour there. Then they drive back to Connellsville to see the Burnett's.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And they spend an hour there. And then they drive back.
Katrina's like, is Eugene ever going to get home?
Okay. Yeah, I know. You're just like, well, I'll have to send her a fax. Tell her when I'll get home.
Yes, faxing.
Oh, send her a fax from Johannesburg, because that's apparently... Oh, we'll get into that scene.
Yeah.
Because I was so confused. Okay.
That's at the end, though. That's a spoiler.
Let's go into the... Yeah, that's a spoiler. So so they decide to go to Chicago this afternoon, which is just nuts. And then go to the next scene, which is Grady's house. And Grady has just tons of stuff. We get the impression.
Nothing from
I get
the past
the impression
episodes.
that he's just been collecting every single item in his house and just piling it at the front door. Mm-hmm. And he's giving them his bed, which it's earlier in the series that he doesn't have a bed. Yeah. He sleeps on the couch.
Yeah.
Is he giving them the couch? I don't know.
Small plot
So
hole.
he's got his mom's mixer. Yeah, I guess so. So he got his mom's mixer, his special blanket he had since he was 2, and all of Sam's stuffies.
And his mom's clothes.
His mom's like, wait, what? Oh, yeah. So his mom's like, where is she now? He's like, oh, she's upstairs in your closet going through all your stuff.
What?
His mom's like, oh, and again, he's just going through the mom's stuff. It's like, okay, we're giving away all your clothes to a homeless guy. Okay.
Yeah.
And so then his mom's like, okay, have a seat, son.
And she tells him, I'm proud of you, son.
Yeah, she's like, look, I'm very proud of you. You're doing a good thing, even though I'm not a Christian and I don't believe in giving away stuff to just random strangers. She's not a Christian at this point.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that she's so warm to the idea of like giving away stuff to, for like a Christian charity.
I don't think she became a Christian, did she? I thought she just accepted that Grady was a Christian at the end.
Yeah, but yeah, that's right. She did. Because there's all the stuff with Carson, McKay.
Yeah, the high stakes.
His father too. Yeah, the high stakes. That's right. Oh, that was such those were so good episodes. Mm-hmm. Oh, and then the one with Carson and the Whisperer, remember?
Yeah, Accidental Dilemma.
Yeah, we got to do that one sometime.
Oh, yeah.
We got to do that one. Okay, but anyway, so his mom gently convinces him only to give like a few things that she'll like decide. And so Grady's like, okay. Just the annoying kid cameo.
Who put the bed back?
Oh yeah, he's like, Samantha, we gotta put the bed back. And
yeah, I think it's the table actually.
It's also so awkward because like, if this was normal dialogue, you'd hear Samantha like, okay.
Yeah.
You just
It's just nothing. She doesn't exist. She's still sleeping.
Samantha, are you there? Yeah, I know. Okay, and then the next scene is a huge scene. This is a big scene. Are you ready?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so apparently this is in some state building or something like that, or some government building.
Yeah, something.
And her name's Diana, the same name as her actress, which is funny.
Yeah.
And okay, here's my tangent. Here's my big beef with this episode. Wit and Diana's cryptic talk would not happen in real life.
Oh, totally not.
If they had something between them, like a secret agent, they just would not talk about it at all.
You wouldn't have what?
That. Oh, wait, we owe you for you know what, you know where, you know why. And it's like, oh, I know because you know why.
And then Eugene pipes in.
He's like, oh no, that's a bit later.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, she's like we're high up in the government apparently.
Oh okay.
She would not be talking this way in real life.
No.
Like, that's just not how you talk if you're that high up in the government.
Yeah.
You just keep your mouth shut at all. It's so awkward. It's so hard to listen to.
I know.
She's like, we still owe you for you know what, you know where, you know why.
And poor Eugene, Poor Eugene. He's just like,
Oh, he's like, I appreciate you doing this. You know why? She's like, huh? What? He's like, never mind.
yeah.
Yeah. And then so they go to the overseas archives.
Mm-hmm.
And so Eugene's like super excited because he likes pursuing like leads. And then he tells Wit he's been praying lots because God's given this to him and he's been praying lots. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I was getting kind of confused with Eugene's dialogue in this scene, so I didn't take good notes. Do you have better notes on it on his what Eugene's saying or?
What I have is that pretty much all I have is that they went to go talk to the weird spy friend. They search
Diana.
Yeah, they search for the archive and arrive on an empty end. And Eugene says he's cooling his heels. Wit says that he definitely hasn't been. And Wit tells him to pray.
And Eugene's like, oh, I've been doing lots of that, Mr. Whitaker.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm holy. No, he's like, I've been praying. I got my brownie points with Wit.
And then Wit tells Eugene that if Eugene's dad wants to be hidden, Eugene trying to find him could be dangerous, and Wit tells Eugene to be careful. Which
is super good advice, but also, like, we find out in a future episodes that is, like, so true, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, yeah. But Eugene is, like, determined to find his father. He's like, I gotta find him after all this time. I'm not giving up. Mm-hmm. And so then they just, like, find, like, this list. And apparently, okay, this is also another goof. we get the impression that it's a huge list. Like, they thump it down on the table. It's like, boom. He's like, here's the list. And then they're like, okay, well, let's look through it. So you take that half. And then, like, 5 seconds later, they're like, found it.
That was fast.
That was fast. And so they found the passenger list within, like, 5 seconds, or Eugene found it. And Whit's like, well, does any name stand out? And he's like, yes, Mushnick.
Michael
Mushnick. Michael Mushnick.
Yeah.
And then Eugene says, it was my mother's maiden name. No, Eugene, you better get your family history right. It was your grandma's maiden name, not your mom's maiden name. It wasn't Thelma Mushnick. It was Martha Mushnick.
Mm-hmm. And so then is Michael his actual great uncle then?
Yeah, no, Michael's his actual great uncle.
So they just messed up.
Sorry?
Just messed up there then?
Yeah, they messed up because Eugene's like, well, it was my mother's maiden name, but in Lost in a Long Line, which was the first episode of this saga, he's like, it was my grandmother's maiden name. Mm-hmm. And then that's the one where Bernard just freaks out that he's related to Eugene. Remember? He's just such a jerk to Eugene in that episode.
Yeah, I know.
He's like, can you imagine being related to Eugene? I think I'd rather have my toenails pulled out by rusty pliers.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Bernard, you're a jerk. But anyway, if you want to listen to my episode, Last in a Long Line. We're not going to be talking about that today.
Nope.
No. So it's a goof. Whatever. We'll forgive them. So apparently Eugene stayed with Michael Mushnick before he went to his foster parents. Mm-hmm. And there was some unknown tragedy, but Eugene never found out what it was.
Until now.
And then, yeah. Or he's gonna, because then Whit uncovers the newspaper, and it's like a train crash, and Whit's like, oh no. And Eugene's like, what is it? And Eugene's like, Eugene, everyone on that train died.
Ba, ba, ba.
Like, yeah, ba, ba, ba. It's like, gasp. And
yeah,
like Michael's dead. The weird thing is Eugene, he is not at all broken up about it.
No,
it's
been like so many years since he's seen Michael, and it's just like,
it's over 20 years. And so Eugene's like, well, interesting.
Whatever, it's not my father. So.
Yeah, I know. Or my mother, but she's already dead.
Yeah.
Wait, so why did they have to kill her? It would have been so interesting to see her. I guess they couldn't find a suitable voice for her, though.
Well, they got a voice for her, though, in New Era, the Forbidden episode.
A new... what? Did they?
Yeah. Because remember when she was pregnant with Eugene and got all angry and stuff?
But that was, like, when she was younger. Like, I'd have liked to see her, like, now. Because she died, like, 3 months ago. Mm-hmm. It was just like Hiram Meltsner. They killed him off, like, a week before Eugene found him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, you didn't have to do that. Let us had Hiram Meltsner.
But he would have had too much information that would have filled in everything from, like, the whole Eugene and his dad series, though.
Yeah, I guess. Huh. Okay. Well, anyway. Then, so, not Hiram, Eugene. So, Eugene's like, whoa, everyone on that train's dead. Long dead, including Michael. He's not broken up about it at all.
No.
He's not even like, well, that's too bad. He's like, And so then we cut out to commercial break and cut back in. And apparently it's, I'm not sure how long they've spent since the last scene and this scene. Probably around like 10 minutes. Like they're like, well, I guess that's all there is to see here. And so they're leaving, and there's more cryptic talk between Whit and Diana. She's like, we'll see you in June for you know what? And Whit's like, I wouldn't miss it. Bye. It's like, oh, so cringe.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't say that if you're in the government. Oh. So anyway, they're walking down the street in Chicago, and it's oddly quiet for a street in Chicago. Did you notice that?
It is true.
There's like one car. Chicago is a big city. There's more than one car on the street.
Just crickets in a car.
Yeah.
It's pretty much Odyssey right there.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, Eugene doesn't have any theories, so he's like, well, yeah, I don't really have any theories on what happened to my father. Oh, and this is where I had all my notes about Odyssey geography, because like they can drive. Whit and Eugene can drive to Chicago from Odyssey there and back in a day, which is nuts. Maybe not, depend. But so like it's either in Ohio, Indiana, or Illinois. So I touched on that a bit. We get some interesting Odyssey geography there.
It's true.
Because originally in Family Portraits, it was listed in Ohio, but that's not considered canon, and like we have no reference since Family Portraits where Odyssey is located.
Yeah, there's like...
Because remember, it was...
Odyssey USA, but...
Yeah, Odyssey USA. So, that's interesting. That's an interesting tidbit of Odyssey history there. You've been listening to Odyssey history with Wyatt and Devon. Yeah, Devon. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. So, next.
Now we're back to...
No, Eugene decides to visit his foster parents, remember?
Oh, right.
And then we go to Grady's home.
Yeah.
So, okay. Here we go.
I'll do Grady again. He's so pleasant.
It's Grady. Everyone's favorite annoying kid. So he's like, why do I have to wear a hat?
You understand when you're older.
And then Grady's like, but you're not wearing a hat. And she's like, well, you'll understand that when you're older too. And he's like, I'm going to be really smart when I'm older. She's like, yeah.
Not really.
Not really. And then they find a box in their front door. It must be, I guess not. So it's for Grady, but the letter's addressed to Mrs. McKay, which... Why wouldn't it be addressed to Mr. McKay? Because the church doesn't know about their family backstory?
That's true, especially since she doesn't go there.
Why wouldn't it be addressed to McKay family? Because...
Well, the package was. It was to Grady and the McKay family. But
I know. But it's also... It's such a coincidence. Presumably, they get their exact furniture they donate. Every one of their exact items.
Were they the only ones who donated it?
Maybe. His mom's like, oh, that's so sweet. And Grady's like, it's not sweet. It's horrible. Yeah. So apparently their house is on the poor list.
Yeah, Grady's all angry because he doesn't want to be known as a charity case.
Yeah, he's not an adoptive family. But his mom's cool with it. She's like, well, I don't mind.
We could always use more stuff, son.
Yeah, I guess so. So anyway, then we go to scene 9, the Burnett's home. And, oh boy, another fairly big scene. So it's with Eugene and Mrs. Burnett. For some reason, Mr. Burnett's not there. I guess he's out
working,
shopping or something. Working. Yeah, I know. He's probably like working in a shop out back. She's like, oh, he's busy, but what can I do for you? She's like, oh, no. Wait, okay. I don't know. She's like, my husband's busy in the shop, and, when he has a project in his mind, he just does it, so it's just me. He's like, I've wanted him to repair that kitchen table for like 12 years, and I finally convinced him to do it tonight, so you're going to have to wait to see him. Hey, Eugene.
Pretty much.
I don't know.
Something like that.
Yeah, I don't know why Mr. Burnett isn't there.
And then she's trying to like feed Eugene throughout the entire scene.
Oh, yeah. And then she takes a stab at Katrina. She's like, is that wife of yours not feeding you enough? Eugene's like, she feeds me just fine, thank you.
Gets all defensive. What are you saying about my wife?
Yeah, I know. But she says that all they knew was that Michael Mushnik died overseas. And then, she's trying to feed him. And then, she forces them to eat, even though they ate on the way back, probably from, like, McDonald's somewhere.
But, Mom, I already ate.
Yeah, I know. She's like, oh, nonsense. You're probably starving. But, Mom, nonsense. You just have a seat while I get the kettle boiling for a pot of tea. If you insist.
That's pretty much the whole scene.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be really bad.
But
So,
they did throw in the important details in there, too.
Yeah, they did, which is good. So while she's preparing their meal, she tells them that the State Department mailed all of Michael's belongings to them since Eugene was the next of kin, which makes sense because it happened a week after his parents died in Africa. Mm-hmm. So his parents are dead, so they'd mail it to Eugene, which is good congruency for Odyssey. I'm glad they're like, oh, they mailed it to. Oh, I'm glad they're not. They didn't like accidentally say they mailed it to like Leonard, but then he died, and so it was mailed to Eugene because it would have made more sense for that to happen.
It's true.
Yeah, it's a goof Odyssey avoided because I could have seen them doing that. So
yeah.
Anyway, so so the Zaire book was in the box of Michael's stuff. And then she tells him that Michael came by the house one day. And then Eugene is, like, getting really excited and, like, nervous. But then Mrs. Burnett, he's like, I don't think you're okay. Like, I can tell when people are tense. And he's like, I'm fine.
I am your therapist.
And she's like, I know. You're not fine. I can tell. And he's like, no, I'm okay, really. Then Whit's like, he is okay. And she's like, oh, okay.
Whit's word, it's everything that everybody needs. As soon as he says it, it's all good.
It's okay. He's like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I can trust you.
Yeah.
I know. So she says that Michael wanted to take Eugene to Africa. And the Burnett said no because he did. Oh, he wanted to take Eugene with him on a trip. But the Burnett said no because he didn't tell them where he was going. Which I'm confused with Michael's intentions here.
Yeah, no.
Was Michael going to try to find his father? If so, how did he know he'd been like where he was? How did he know he was in that specific area?
It's true.
If Michael was just going to Africa to visit his parents, why didn't he tell the Burnetts that he was taking Eugene? Also, why didn't he tell the Burnetts anything? Like,
yeah,
you'd think that. I mean, they're Eugene's like guardians, so it's not like he's just telling some random stranger who's might be related to Dalton Kern,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just weird. Michael, I don't get Michael's motives in this scene. But at any rate, it turns out for the good because he dies, apparently. So
yeah, that's the good.
Yeah. Well, he might not be dead.
Oh.
He might be living with the Ashantis.
Album 70 spoilers, guys. He's coming back.
Yeah. He's Yosef from Prisoners of Fear.
Although, he is a great uncle, so he's probably dead by age now.
Yeah, probably.
Although Whit's not dead.
Man. Yeah. Okay. You've brought me up on that tangent. Whit served in World War II when he was like in his 20s. His son served in the Vietnam War. What has to be at least 95 by now. But we get the impression he's in his like late 60s.
Yeah, I know.
The show made sense in the 80s. It does not make sense now. Okay, so back to the episode, though.
Yeah.
So if it hadn't been for the Burnetts, Eugene would have died in that crash along with Michael, which is a sobering thought, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man.
Nuts.
So, anyway, good on the Burnetts, I guess. So then we go to what I guess is Eugene's house. Katrina's not there because apparently she has better things to do with her time. Because Eugene's looking through the box of his. He's like, I wonder if this soap dish has any meaning.
Just looking through everything for clues.
Katrina's like, okay, Eugene, I gotta do some shopping here. Eugene's like, I wonder if this towel means anything. Katrina's like, okay, goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ouch. And then Whit comes in, and he's like, hi, Eugene. And Eugene's like, oh, hi. And he's like looking through the box, he's like, well, he's like, I feel like the trip we went on yesterday was kind of a waste because all the info was interesting. I don't see how any of it is relevant. And then he's like, I got a cardboard splinter too. Which, is that a possible thing?
I don't know, honestly.
A cardboard splinter. Yeah. Huh, I don't know. I don't want to... It sounds painful.
It does.
But then anyway, Eugene shows Whit a picture of his parents in Dalton Kern. And then here's where we get the first kind of tidbits about Dalton Kern. Oh, we got some in Prisoners of Fear, but we kind of start to see Dalton Kern a bit more. So Eugene tells Whit that he was his parents' mentor. And Whit's like, oh, well, he's quite a well-renowned archaeologist. Which Whit would know because he's a well-renowned archaeologist too. So, yeah. And apparently Whit was doing his research because he called a friend in the newspaper office in the Congo to fax him the complete article. Which, what? Whit just knows everyone in the world.
Whit's got connections.
He has connections. Yeah. So he just was calling. He's like, this guy in the same newspaper in the Congo. And so they faxed him a complete article. And here's where I just fell off topic. So, the newspaper apparently stores its archives in Johannesburg. And so the newspaper faxed Whit's request to Johannesburg, and then Johannesburg faxed Whit's, what Whit wanted to him. And then so Whit basically says this, and Eugene's like, uh-huh. And then Whit's like, Eugene, do you remember the missions board fax? There were 2 copies, and Eugene's like, yeah. And Whit's like, I got a hunch. And then we just go out on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was like, wait a minute. When I listened to this, I was like so confused. I was like, wait, what? It just, I don't even get what Whit's going off here. Maybe that's because I'm faxing is so old school, but
probably
still,
but
yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it's the episode.
One more thing is, when they were looking at the photo of Eugene's parents, Eugene mentions his attempt of a mustache, which was a flashback to A Little Credit, Please.
Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't put that down on my notes.
From Darkness Before Dawn.
A little. Oh yes. That's the one episode in Darkness Before Dawn that's not Blackguard.
Yeah.
It's
a little bit of a random episode, but
Connie gets the credit card, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah. That's right. Oh man. Yeah. Maybe one day we'll cover that, so I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe. But this is by far the longest podcast episode I've ever done.
Yeah.
Probably because you're here with me.
I feel like we went over time.
Will you be back next time?
Who knows? Anything's possible.
Yeah. So, either I or we will be back next time to talk about 595, A Time for Action Part 2. So, yeah. Do you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I think that's all I have written down about this episode.
Until next time, this has been Adventures into Oz.
Yeah. Bye, guys.